Welcome to a new live session of Seibert Media. I have a guest again. It's Levente Szabo from Midori. Hi, Levente.
Hi, Martin. How are you?
Fine. And let's keep it with Levi, as you said. That's easier for me. We're going to be talking about this massive mess that Confluence may create.
That's right.
And at the same time, it's always something that I feel the urge to explain to our customers. It's kind of a good mess, because in the very beginning, you normally don't have digital information about what's going on in your company. So people complain that they know last what happens in their company. They complain because they're not informed about decisions, about what happens in the company. And Confluence is a tool that can help change that. People start writing things in the presence and with access of others. And it's helping companies to become more transparent, to have more digital information available, and to collaborate better in this system. So that's basically a good thing. If you're driving that further, and if you're in a very big company, things can become quite messy in a wiki, because everyone can create a page, everyone can edit a page, redundancy kicks in, and people feel a little bit frustrated because they can't search, and Confluence has a good search, but still they will find like ambiguous information and won't know which one's the real truth, the one truth that we're talking about, and they would want all the obsoleted information to go away, which is kind of difficult when you're in a big company. And that's where Midori's archiving plugin comes in, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right, Martin.
Tell us a little bit about it, about the product.
Absolutely. And what's more, actually, I've seen a couple of your interviews and webinars, and I know that you usually ask for a elevator pitch. So I actually prepared an elevator pitch for you.
Normally, I'm doing that in the very end to give people a chance to. But fine.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Actually, what I wanted to start with is that think about Confluence, or think about archiving plugin as the painkiller and the vitamin in one for your Confluence management, content management, because it can take away the headache if your wiki is already overgrown, if you're, slows your team down, costing you money, if your team members are spending more time and looking for information instead of actually working on things. But it's also a vitamin. If you don't feel those pains yet, it can help you to prepare for the times when it hurts. If you're a growing company, if you rely on Confluence, you can be rest assured that, as you said, redundancy will kick in and it will hurt. So archiving plugin can also prepare you for the time when you're a larger company than what you are right now.
What is the pain that people try to kill when they buy your plugin?
Absolutely. So the pain is that, which actually comes from larger companies, is that they are not able to find the relevant information for the projects they are working on. They know that the information must exist there somewhere, but the phenomenon that what they are experiencing is that their teams are looking for information, but usually what they find is either obsolete or not even there. But the worst is when they actually make decisions on an outdated information, and that's where the real pain comes from, when you're actually losing business or losing money because you are not able to manage your digital information. And actually, I wanted to give you a little bit of insight of how we think about content lifecycle. What is content lifecycle anyways, right?
Sure.
Because what we see is that companies are coming to us when they already have this problem of dysfunctional Confluence. But as you said, Confluence is so popular. It's so easy for everyone to create content that people don't even think about when they create content. They just pull up a page and put some information there, and they even forget about it. So if you're a Confluence admin, you can find yourself in a position where you have a lot of information, but no one can be held accountable for certain spaces or information. And that's where archiving plugin can help you to follow the content right from the creation throughout its lifecycle, to help you create rules, what you want to be look at as not viewed or expired, and right to the end of the lifecycle when you need to decide if this information is needed anymore, or if it's not needed, so you need to delete something or need to archive something. That's the spectrum that you need to cover when you think about content lifecycle.
Okay, let me give you a small anecdote of how we came to use your product and to love it, and then maybe you could show us on your screen how it's actually working. And so basically, my brother, who's I'm kind of the hot air guy doing these webinars here, and but my brother's actually making sure that this company is working or humming. And he came to me one day, it's years ago, and told me, look, our Confluence is a mess. We're using that heavily, but we do have pages that have the same title but different contents. Some are talking about the same thing from a different angle. Some are actually really redundant, so they will be ambiguous. People will, depending on which page they find, they will do different things. And I want this to end, because there are easy technical and systematic structural things that I could use to kick out the wrong information. For example, content that has been stale for years is probably most likely to be obsolete than a content that has been updated 2 days ago. So if I have the same page and one was created 2 days ago and the other is untouched since 5 years, the likeliness is pretty high that the more recent page is better. And so he set out, and we often have juniors here. We have students who have to do bachelor theses and this stuff. And then one of these students was creating an archiving plugin so that we would weed through all our Confluence pages and look at which pages are old and try to archive them. And one of these tasks in such a bachelor thesis was to look at the marketplace. So does the Atlassian marketplace offer anything like that? And there was a plugin from Midori. And we tried it out, and it wouldn't do at all what we were expecting to. Like, it would break, and we had a bad experience. So we dropped it, and the guy created this, his bachelor thesis. We tried that out. It never really flew. But one day, this Midori company released a newer version of their archiving plugin. And my brother came back to me and said, look, I didn't talk to them, but they did what I actually wanted back in the days. And now I'm going to install this plugin and use it here. And the experience was as follows. So the plugin would send out an email, and my brother had a very simple algorithm. So the algorithm was, every page that had been untouched would be called out, like people who interacted with this, who created it, who changed it, would get an email, and then they would have a month or two to do anything to the page to update it, edit it, do any change. And if they did that change, it would be a current page again. So it was a very simple algorithm, even if they only added a dot or didn't edit anything, as long as there was an edit, it would fall out of this quarantine or whatever. Those pages that would remain untouched after the month or two would go to an archiving space and would not be able to be searched on Confluence anymore. But we would still be able to recover them if there was any bad, if there was a really knowledge treasure in it, and we could still get it back in our normal system without a problem. And when he came up with this concept, I thought, oh, this is a lot of work. Like 150 people will read through thousands of pages, and it's going to create a massive work of, yes, this is cleaning up, and it may, but still, we are not earning money by cleaning our Confluence, right? So I was very wary that this would be a big burden. And then I got this email, this long-awaited email, and it was a long email. I got probably 500 or 1,000 pages that were outdated. And then, I said, okay, so I was very skeptical about it and the whole Midori concept there. Let's look through the list of pages. And actually, it was, I don't know, it probably took me 15 or 20 minutes to go through these 600 pages. And I pulled up probably 10 or 15 out of them. And actually, 99%. I think there were only 2 pages that I actually edited. Everything else could be sent right away to trash. And I was then interviewing other employees. Did you see the mail? Did you look at it? Did you look at the pages? Did you take it for granted that someone else would do it? And actually, a lot of people had looked at the email and had the very exact experience. And then there were even people coming to me saying, why didn't we do this earlier? We need to get rid of this old shit. We need to weed out this garbage out of Confluence. There is no harm, but there's a lot of upsides there. And then, like, it was way too long for me after getting this email that people had a month or two to weed through their list, because I thought, okay, you can do it in 15 minutes, so why don't we just throw out all the old crap tomorrow? And then my brother stick to his concept. And then all these pages were deleted. And I never heard anyone trying to find or recover a archive page. And you can say we're only a small company with 150 people. But after that, we have become very strong advocates for your solution. And we're also using it in very big instances where people think, oh, it's slowing down our system. It's, I don't know. We will be talking about objections later, but this would be my anecdote about the usage of your tool. And maybe you could now pick it up. Maybe I said something wrong, then you can correct me, and show us on your screen how that actually works.
Absolutely. Martin, thank you so much for sharing all this with us. I'm not sure if we were aware of that, probably not about the full story. But it's
probably not that we disliked your plugin in the very first place and thought it was crap.
Yeah. Thanks for calling that out. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, let me just quickly reflect on a couple of things. You mentioned this long email. Yeah, it was one of the feature requests that we got from large companies, because yeah, you're a fairly mid-sized company with 150 people, but imagine a company with thousands of Confluence contributors. Those emails can be like massively longer. Wouldn't take 20 minutes, but like 20 days to go through them. So we actually dealt with the problem. You're not getting that long emails anymore. You just get a snippet of what's going on in your spaces with outdated pages. But the email itself is way more user friendly. Of course, if you're just starting out with your content lifecycle management, and as you said, for the first time, you probably have a lot of outdated information. Yes, it probably will take a little bit of work for you to go through all those pages. But as you said, the sooner you get started, the easier the process will be. going down the road. So yeah, if there is one message I can share with this session, or I want any listener of this video is don't wait until it hurts. The sooner you get started, the easier and the cheaper it will be, and it won't cost you any money later. Yeah, so definitely, and yeah, one more thing about feature requests, it's all public for anyone who's interested. So if you're interested in what we're working on right now, you can go to our website and actually.
Do you want to show us, share a screen and show us where your bugs and your feature requests sit and where we can vote?
Absolutely. Let me just pull up the page. It's actually on Zendesk, so you will find. Can you see my?
Yes. Now we can see your screen.
So you can reach this page from our website, and under the feature request sections, you'll find all these requests that we have in the pipeline. And what's important is that you can actually go in and vote on the feature requests, and also share your use case. It's important because it gives the product development team a good idea about what really hurts for users.
How many employees do you have that are working on the archiving plugin?
I actually can't disclose numbers, but it's a fairly big effort that we're putting into developing the product. And this is the source where they're looking at when they're deciding which features to implement in next releases. So it's very important. If you're interested in the feature and you don't have it in archiving plugin, just start a discussion with us. We will definitely give you an idea if it's where we put it on the map, on the roadmap, and you will have a good idea of when you can expect that feature to come out.
Yeah. So please let me second that. Our experience is that Levent and his team are pretty quick and individual to answer requests. So please feel free to reach out to them or to us, and we'll do that for you. Okay, let's see how this is working in Confluence. Can you show us?
Sure. Okay, so I prepared a test instance or a test space for you guys to really walk you through the main concepts of our archiving plugin, and show what the plugin can offer. So I think that a good idea to start with, if you're just starting out with your content lifecycle management journey, is to first sit down and think about what kind of spaces do you have that you don't want to include in lifecycle scanning. It can be a custom decision by any company that they decide to leave out certain spaces from the lifecycle management. This is done by blacklisting spaces within the plugin, and with that you can, as I said, exclude the spaces you want the plugin to ignore completely when it runs. So as you can see, I have a few spaces excluded here, and you can update that anytime. Once you thought about that, the next thing you should do is understand the current status of your data, because I think that's a very important point when you want to make decisions about what to do with certain individual spaces. You need to understand how the collection of your spaces, how your all the entirety of your Confluence instance is doing. So the way to do it is to create a global configuration first. A global configuration, as you can think about out of its name, it's something that you can apply to a group of spaces. There can be more than one global configuration, as you can see here. I have 3 actually. But first, I would recommend to create only one that you will apply to all of your spaces. Let me just give you a little rundown on how to configure an archiving configuration in the plugin. So this is the control panel, all the options that you can use when you're configuring your archiving rules. So what you can do is define what you mean by not viewed. So you can be very strict, like here it's 10 days. You can go higher, like 365 days, like a year. And those pages that haven't been viewed for that many days will be considered as not viewed.
Where did you get this information from? Do you track every view yourself, or do you use Confluence usage tracking for that, or was it?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. View tracking is something that the plugin adds to Confluence entirely. What that means is that we track, the plugin track your viewing of the pages, but it also means that since Confluence itself doesn't have a feature that tracks viewers on a page, it only tracks edits. We don't have historic data when you're in your Confluence spaces and pages. So I will show you later, but this is important to know that view tracking is something that we add to your instance.
Which also adds to why you want people to install your plugin early when they don't have the pane already, because then when the pane kicks in, they have some historic data that they can compute with, right?
I couldn't have said better. That's exactly right, yes. Yeah. So
one question about the view tracking again. Isn't that a big detractor of my Confluence performance? If I add another algorithm that will be fired with every interaction?
Yeah, I get your question. No, it's absolutely not. Before we release any like major features, we also always test it with large customers, like beta testers. So we would know if that would be a problem, and I can assure you that it's not. It's not a slowing factor at all. So was that an answer?
Actually, I would say the same thing if I was the vendor. I am not totally convinced that this can be true in a company that has 200,000 employees and is working on this. But let's put it this way. You are employing an active process that is firing up every time I view a page, or do you look at the logs in the background every once an hour or something?
That's right. We look at the log periodically. Mm-hmm. So just creating the log or getting this information that a page has been viewed or not doesn't slow your system down. What can be like a burden on the performance of your Confluence system is when the lifecycle job actually runs, when the archiving job runs. That's an active process, but that's why we recommend to run those lifecycle checks when no one is using Confluence, like in the middle of the night, right? So yeah. That's a good idea to run those checks, and that will bother anyone.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Like, as we're also only looking at very stale and old data, there's no need to have this computation live and be updated every 2 minutes. So I would agree that I can look at the statistics of my system, and even if it's a worldwide giant system that is used every hour of the day by another group of employees in different countries, still you'll have Saturdays and Sundays and special times when traffic is low, and then you can compute your Midori archiving stats. Okay.
That's right. Yes. Okay. So if you don't mind, let's continue with these control. So the view tracking is one thing. You can also define who should be notified if there are not view pages. It's very straightforward. You can also do the same thing for outdated information. You can define what is considered outdated. And you can also use custom labels to control this manually. We will get to that later, but this is also something that you can turn on and off here. And as a last but important step is archiving. So basically, this is the step when you decide how you want to act on the information that you gathered from here. If you leave these unchecked, it means that nothing will happen. So when the lifecycle check runs, those pages that are not viewed or outdated will be reported in your statistics, but nothing will happen. Nothing will be archived. When you're creating your first configuration, I would recommend to leave this turned off, because you're still in the beginning of the learning curve, so you don't want to archive anything that you're not supposed to. So maybe that's a good idea. But
yeah, I also agree that this is a very good idea for people who are cautious and think, like, on Tuesday this week, I was at an event and I spoke to people who had a big trouble and problems with chaos in their Confluence systems. Right. And some of them have tried your plugin already, and they thought it wouldn't do. Actually, I don't know whether they really tried it or just looked at the marketplace. Just they thought it wasn't a good idea for them to use it. And I think what you just explained is a very good starter to say, look, even if you don't do anything, or even if, so one of the arguments that I heard was the content on Confluence doesn't belong to me. I'm only the service provider of Confluence. So I cannot force anyone to do anything to their content because I am not entitled to do that. It is their content, and I may not invade in their turf by automatically moving it to an archive space or something. They have to do it themselves. And what you're saying is, like, you could send them a friendly reminder and say, look, this is an outdated page. Do you want to archive it? This is how you can do it. It may not be a very efficient process, but still it's useful, right? Because you get information, you get analytics, you can show to people and say, look, actually your whole space is abandoned. Why don't we just kick it away? And then people can come to their own conclusion and say, oh, you're right, we're not using that anymore, so why don't we just kick it?
That's right. Let me just add one thing to that came to my mind as you were speaking. We have a fairly large customer. This is a very popular payment processor. And they said something very interesting. They said that what they are creating is a wall of shame. So this statistics can be a wall of shame as well, that can motivate people, and just, they're not necessarily doing any archiving or anything, but it will show you that, hey, you are responsible for this many spaces, and yet all of them or many of them are expired. Well, no one doing them. Shouldn't you do something about it? So it's also a good motivator for people to get involved.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool. Let's go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you created your first global configuration, you will go ahead and apply to that to all of your spaces. You can just do it with one click, and it will apply to all your spaces. And once you've done that, the most important thing that you need to do is calculate your content quality statistics. And this is basically the most important dashboard that you have with archiving plugin. It gives you all the information you need, including the total pages in your Confluence. It calculates a quality that takes into consideration of the proportion of how many pages are outdated of your total spaces, or how many are not viewed at all. This is something that you can recalculate how frequently you want to get a glimpse of what's going on in your Confluence instance. Okay, so once you understood what your whole how your whole system does look like, you can go into the specifics and go into the particular spaces themselves and create some custom configurations for your spaces. It's also a good idea to think about what types of spaces you have. So some of the spaces can share configurations, or there are spaces that have really unique life cycles, or and should have very strict rules when it comes to checking their relevancy. So I just want to show you how you can go about creating a custom configuration for one particular space. This will look very similar to what you already seen here. You can also get statistics for just one space, and under your configuration rules, you can choose if you want to go with one of the global configurations, or you go with a custom setting. As I said, it's very similar to what I just showed you, but this particular configuration will apply to just one space. Okay, so once you have your configuration in space, I just wanted to show you how you can go and see what the actual status is, how you can check what the status is when you're browsing in a space. There are three ways to check statuses of your pages. Is you can either go to your content tools again and check the page status. It's also something that we add to your Confluence, and this is a good tool to drill down into your page tree and see what's going on. So you can see in one glimpse.
Cool. I didn't know that. I've learned something here.
Okay, that's very good. So you can see that, okay, I have some expired content here. I have something that hasn't been viewed. I have more content that hasn't been viewed. So probably I should do something about those. As I said, you also have the statistics page and here. But if you're browsing one particular page, I'm sorry, you also have this indicator up here that will give you a status of that particular page. Okay, so at this point, we already know how to create configurations, and we also know that, well, would like you to know that those configurations can be scheduled. you already mentioned that if you have a large instance, it's a good idea to schedule to run those configurations when no one is using Confluence potentially. But you can also control the life cycle of pages manually, and you can do that by labels. So right now I have this page here, which is up to date. But if you think that this page
can you show this longer, please? Because I think this is quite helpful for people to understand.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I often encounter this small icon. It can change, right? It can become yellow or red, and this is depending on the configuration that we created, and or maybe
exactly.
you show that. And
exactly.
It's helping people to find out which of their content may be due for archiving and what kind of guidelines you as a company employ to define what is fresh content and what is old stale content. And it will help them understand and plan for their own spaced content lifecycle maintenance, for example. So this is only a small button that I underestimated in the beginning, but it does have some teaching power.
That's right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And as you said, those can change, and you can control that manually as well. So you can apply labels to a page. So if you think that this page actually should expire in the future, should have been expired earlier, you can apply a label, and the page status indicator will reflect that. So if you think that it should have expired in the beginning of the month, it will say that it expired actually 17 days ago. There are a list of labels that you can apply on our website. If you go to the documentation of archiving plugin, you will see what labels you can use. I just wanted to show you another one. If you
yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will definitely show you the section on our website as well. If you think that it should actually be archived, then you can use the archive label, and you will also see this reflected. You can also see that this will also add the archive indicator to the whole tree, of pages. But if you just want to select this one particular space or page to be archived, you can use a label like this. I don't want to go through all the labels that
That's more for the technical people under the administrative style users, right?
Anyone can add a label. So
yeah,
but
you need to know which labels to use and how to write them.
Oh yeah, that can be a case, yes. But yeah, maybe admins should. It's a good idea for admins to distribute these labels for users in like company newsletters if they want to. They want the users to actually control the content manually. It really depends on the company. How do you think about these things?
Levente, can you try to finish this type of presentation like in the next 2 to 3 minutes? Is that feasible?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to show how it actually works, how an archiving actually works in practice. So I already have some content that's out of date, and I want to run an archiving on it. I'll just come to the Start Archiving tab, which will run in a couple of seconds, and it will give me the results. It says that 21 pages were moved to an archive space. So it basically created a new space which resembles the name of the fresh space with just a postfix. And we can see what the difference is. I have go that way. So the outdated page tree is now lives under the archive page. That's the one.
Okay, cool.
Came from the fresh space, and it's under the
archiving for Confluence. Maybe if you agree, you can just show us real quick, where is the documentation? Where can I find it? Is it also Zendesk? Midori
no.
Zendesk.com?
On our website. It's very easy to find the archiving plugin on our website, and there you have the documentation. It's structured. It's very straightforward, and under triggers, you have the label-based triggers. You have the list of all the labels that you can use for your lifecycle control.
Cool. Thank you so much for introducing us to that. I would want to give you, and this kind of inspired me to look at our own instance again. And let me let's just share what I can see over here. So this is like a real screenshot of our internal Confluence instance. So we do have a total of 7,698 pages, and there are quite a few, almost half of them are expired, at least concerning to this calculation. I didn't check what my brother did here, so we should start this archiving process again one time. What I really do like is the ability to accept or assess which of these things are active and which are not so active, and also to be able to see what has been archived already, and so it's very interesting. It's you guys probably won't find this too engaging, but if as soon as it starts to become your own instance, things change, and you actually look at that stuff with your own eyes because it's your own stuff. So you may want to try it out. We can help you if you want. Seibert Media offers services around that. Also, I should include that part of advertisement here. The archiving plugin is part of our LinkedIn Internet offering. We do offer to especially big customers, and I think especially for big customers, archiving is very handy. A Confluence-based internet solution, and we almost always recommend and also install the archiving plugin there. And if you're interested in that, you can go to the Midori website, you can call us, you can look at the marketplace. It's pretty good feedback you get from the marketplace from people, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. And what I also wanted to add to what you're saying about big customers is that if you're on data center environment, I have also good news because the data center compatible version is actually under beta testing. So a handful of our largest and most eager customers are currently beta testing the data center version. And once we get their feedback, and we've done the usual due diligence work before release, that version will leave will get out the door very soon. So if you're a data center customer, archiving plugin is coming to your instance as well.
Was it a lot of work?
Oh, it's a tremendous amount of work that we've been putting to that, but I think it will worth it. Okay,
cool. Then Levente, or Levi, thank you so much for sharing all this with us, preparing this. Let me see whether I forgot something. No questions. All good. Then let's see how this turns out for you. I wish you all the best. A lot of data center customers that will try out your product soon. And
absolutely.
If you're suffering from a lot of chaos, redundancy, and problems with a lot of content in your Confluence, which I wish that you'll experience that one day, because it's basically a good thing, then you may want to try out Levy's plugin, Archiving for Confluence. You can find it on the marketplace. Contact them directly, contact us, as said. Thank you so much, Levy, for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.